All right, looks like I am live. Do a little setup here, give people a chance to jump in. I posted on my Facebook. Hopefully a few people will find me there and stop by. That would be really awesome. So I just want to check the sound, make sure that it's not echoing. Okay, it sounds like it's working. Okay, and all right. So you can see in the background here, or I guess it's not in the background. This is my current project that I'm working on. It's a ferry tower, and it's about halfway finished now. It has a light inside, a chip on board, super bright LED, low power, low heat, and I left this on all night. When I went to bed, I just stared at it until I fell asleep. And I don't know what I dreamt about, but I promise you it was probably fairies. So I want to set this up over and hope that it keeps picking up a signal. That would be great. Okay, so you guys got to look at that. I'm going to turn on some lights so I can get to work here. And while I'm working, I'll explain a few new things that I've got going on, and it may help explain a little bit of the difference in my channel that's been going over the last couple of weeks. So first I'm going to explain what I'm going to be doing in this episode. You can see underneath here the bottom hasn't been finished because I needed to put the light in. And I also needed to disguise the light cord. So the light, I've started to disguise where the cord comes down and out. And this will essentially be the back of the model. Last night I worked on a chimney. You can see here. It turned out okay. It's not quite what I was looking for. And I used water beads, the Orbeez, the gel floral beads. Do I have some? Maybe I do. Oh yeah. I'm sure you guys know what they are, but I just want to show. I used these beads here. I laid them down and I put tissue paper over the top of them so that I can get this lumpy look like cobblestones. And I also took some of the beads in a little cup with some glue and pretty much minced them like garlic so I could get little flecks of stone in that, like an aggregate. And I laid it down into the shape of a chimney and put the tissue paper over it, and was hoping that the paper would wrap around, use a little bit of glue on top, and then when the glue dries and the beads shrink, because when they dry out they get smaller and smaller, they'll just pull away from the paper, which they did, and it'll leave this nice stone shape behind. Well, that didn't quite work out. It was my very first try. This is the results. That's the texture I was able to get. And it does look like a rocky texture. But I had to build this up a lot. So a lot of the little cobblestone textures disappeared. And then the piece wasn't long enough. It was too short. So I had to basically, like a paper wasp, build up the top of this chimney. And you can see it's just really thin tissue paper I put in there with the brush. It took me about an hour to go from here to there with the tiny little pieces of paper, putting them on there one at a time and delicately shaping this circular tube here. And I'm going to go over that again, and then I'm going to take a brush and some paint and kind of like detail some of the cracks and make it look more like cobblestones. So I'll do that later, but right now, since I have the light installed, I have to finish this bottom part, which I'm going to cover that up. And also, I love how it just kind of hangs there, right? Let me move this down a little bit so I can see what's going on. Sorry for the interruption. Okay, so this open spot that just kind of hangs down, I thought of putting a swing, like a little rope swing there, or even better, a porch swing hanging down with vines and moss, and just looks all beautiful and pretty. So I'm kind of on the fence about if I want to just do a rope swing, because that would be a lot easier, and it would be it wouldn't detract. It'd just be kind of like a little embellishment. But then I'm pretty good at making things that look like they're made of wood, so I could make a porch swing with pieces of cardboard that I have here from the part of a notepad. I don't throw these away. This is raw material for me. Cardboard. If I had to go out and buy a piece for this is construction material. So I just keep this, and you never know when you might need a good piece of cardboard. So don't throw those away. You can always use them as straight edges, really. I mean, I'm about frugality, for real. So I can use this cardboard to simulate planks of wood, and then I can assemble a little porch swing and hang it down here and have like little vines, and it looks like you're about ready to film a Mariah Carey video in the bottom. Also, I have steps. It's hard to see on the cross section, but there's a little door here that I have to work on. I'm going to add a porch coming off of it, and these steps, I'm going to have them going all the way around this wooden pedestal that it sets on to give it a tower quality. And then let me show you this one here. Alright. I have a video on my channel that shows me making this, but I added a lot to it. Let me get it under the light so you can see. And let me move you up here. And we'll just snuggle in here a little bit. Alright, there we go. Isn't that crazy? Maybe I lost my mind a little bit on the porch, but I feel like there's really no rule. There's no rules. You can go crazy. And click that off, and then I can show you the beautiful lights underneath. This piece, battery powered, 10 LEDs. Look at that. I've had 4 offers on this piece, and so far it's topped out at about $125, and it's a $250 piece. But I have bills to pay, so I'm looking to move this one. You can go to my Facebook and find out how to get your hands on something like this, or even place an order for one of these houses. I'm going to be doing this full time, I think. And that's a nice segue into some of the changes on my YouTube channel, because I am no longer working a part-time job. Did I get rid of that? Okay, good. I'm no longer working a part-time job, so I really have to kick it in high gear making art that can meet my rent. And that means these fairy houses, they take me a whole day to make, and I don't like to spend a whole day making the same thing. I like to do a variety of things, but I have had to spend a lot of time on these, so it's taken away from a lot of the sketching and drawing that I do on my Mr. Ed Draws. I know it's kind of a thing, you go on there, Mr. Ed Draws, and then all I'm doing is making stuff, but my channel is probably going to transition into something like this, and drawing and sketching will be more of a side thing, because this is really where I live, is in sculpture, in handicraft, in making these amazing little homes that kind of spark the imagination. So I'm sorry if you come to my channel and you want to see the sketching all the time, because that's probably going to be kind of dropping off a little bit more, and there's going to be more Mr. Ed Makes. And there's an explanation for that. Maybe I'll get into it sometime. But basically on my Facebook, which I can't monetize, I have I'll say a huge following, but it's not really. But it's a pretty substantial following, and I can't get that to move over to YouTube. I just can't get it to go. So I'm kind of living at Facebook right now, trying to establish relationships with my viewers in such a way that I can get them to come over to my YouTube channel. But they're not going to come over for dry erase sketching, so I'm going to have to do more of this. So it's just a matter of economics for me. And I'm sorry if it kind of puts some people off. I really do apologize, but I have bills to pay. Frankly, if I had a part-time job, it wouldn't be such a big deal. I could concentrate on the draws part of Mr. Ed Draws, but I have to pay my bills, so I have to concentrate on the big money items, which are these things here. So I'm going to set you back so you can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to get to work on covering this space, and you guys can join me if you want to comment along. I'll try to pay attention, and I'm just going to work for a little bit and maybe talk about a few things. I don't know. I'll definitely talk about how I do this if you guys want to try something like this. And I have this idea of selling a kit where you'll get pretty much all the materials that you need, all the supplies that you need to make one of these. You just have to assemble them. And then I can do a tutorial on YouTube and live and walk people through making these. And maybe over a course of a week, people could have one that they've made themselves at a fraction of the cost. So that's an idea that I'm kind of milling around because I can't depend on my videos paying the bills at this stage of the game. So I really have to integrate being able to pay my bills in a way that allows me to still be a content provider. And this is it. This is where we're at. Alright, so I have a number of bowls of things here. This is a glue mixture with pigment in it. It has an Orby in there, just fell in. I haven't dug it out. But it's okay, it's not going anywhere. I have a brownish, reddish brownish, and then a green of this color. And then I have a little bit darker green. And using all of those three colors, I'm able to get this nice modeling that you can't tell because the lights are too bright. You can kind of see the different colors, the greens, the reds. Kind of looks camouflaged. Am I even on here? Okay, is this thing on? Yeah, I checked it. All right. This is a lighter color. Green has a little bit more yellow in it. I just kind of like that variety. This one here. And that's a darker green. And I just have a blue there for some reason. I think I'm using the blue to change the hues of the reds and the greens. Okay. So on the bottom of this, I use my glue wash. Carefully set that down not to break anything off. Okay. I'm going to use my glue wash. I'm going to start with red since it's already there. Wow. Oh, I tell you, the ants are out. I don't know where that one came from. We have a terrible ant problem here in Ashland. Almost everybody has, they have a run-in with ants, and then they always have to end up dealing with it. And then usually in the spring and then in the fall, me and the ants go to war. And I win. And that's hard to do against a species that's been so successful, 10 times more successful than humans, even though we've been to the moon. But you just have to think smart. Do you want to know how I win against ants? Bribery. You basically have to make someplace else more attractive than your home. And I try to give them what they want somewhere else, and then lead them away. And they'll go to that. It could be a bag of sugar that's put in like a plastic bin in such a way that the ants can get there and just live off of it all season. That's fine. Or it could be a tray of grease, because they like that, the ones that come into your home. And then I try to keep my home really clean. So usually ones I find in here are just wandering, or they've just wandered in here, and they'll eventually die. But before they do, their friends may wander in here too. So I nip that in the bud real fast. Trying to deal with no insects. I love insects, I love nature, but not in my kingdom. I keep it in check. So basically I've moistened, I hate that word, the sticks so that the tissue paper will stick. And this has glue in it so that when it dries it will stiffen. And I'm just basically a decoupage kind of technique, covering up that space, and then when this dries it will be nice and taut like a drum, kind of like rice paper. The consistency of this is pretty liquid. There's a lot of water in here because if you use a lot of glue with this tissue paper, it'll stick to your brush and then it's hard to work with. And I forgot what I was saying. I got distracted by hitting this big glob of red paint in here that didn't get mixed up. And it reminded me to say too that don't mix these colors really, really well. Just I use a powdered pigment, like chunks of pigment, like pigment tablets. I take little pieces of those and drop it in there and just let it do its thing. As I stir and mix, I'm getting these blends of colors that makes these really interesting gradients. Of course, as you moisten the paper, as it gets wet, it's going to expand, it's going to sag. So you may have to reposition it. So if it's really liquid, it gives you a chance to do that. If it was stiff glue, you'd tear the paper trying to reposition it. And I'm taking it all the way down. Can you guys see what's happening? Okay, good deal. So I've been doing a lot of live feeds on my Facebook, and I'm trying to build my audience there because Facebook has been talking about for a while now monetizing video content on Facebook. And there are some people that have already received some kind of monetization, like experimental, whatever. It's like a beta testing thing. And I'm trying to improve my viewership so that I can, if I can, get in on the test or the beta, or at the very least when they do launch it, I'll have a nice audience there already. Because it looks like YouTube is, I'm not saying it's dead, but I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. I'm telling you that right now. I'm not going to depend solely on YouTube. I would love to move to Twitch, but I'm a little older. My audience is typically a little older, and they just don't live there. They barely live on computers, to be honest, if I can reach them at all. And it's because my artwork is so expensive, it's not typically aimed at people who are just starting out their lives. It's for people who are kind of established. They have a little bit of money in the bank. Not saying that young people don't, but my audience is typically older because that population most likely does have the money, the discretionary income, to drop down $200, $300 on a sculpture. I'm not going to, a kid in college with student loans, they just don't have that kind of money. I know it. I've been there. I'm still there, frankly. So I got to hit my market, and it's not at Twitch, but I'll be going there. I'll be doing it. These technologies are just becoming more and more ubiquitous among every generation. So as that happens, as the older people catch on to what's hip, I'm hoping to be there. So you always got to think ahead. I'm a business person. I'm an executive. Been formally trained in business, so and I've written about this. I've done articles about this. I write as well, and I really do resent when the economics of being an artist affect your productivity. Like, for instance, I like doing dry erase pictures. I love doing landscape sketches, but I just don't get as much for those. So the economics of what I'm doing is going to affect what I make. I'm not going to make as many of those. Maybe people enjoy those more. They're not going to get as many. So you see, it really does, no matter how hard you try as an artist, if you're a working artist, you're always going to be chasing that dollar, and you are always going to be doubting, am I doing what I'm doing because it's a creative flow, it's a sincere creative flow, or am I doing what I'm doing because I have bills to pay? And it's a blend of both. So if you walk a nice balance, you can get the best of both worlds, but you're certainly diminishing it one way or the other by factoring money into creativity. And I'm always doing that. It's just the way that I am. But I am always aware that it's a factor. I want to find an audience that likes what I make. I don't want to make stuff to find an audience. You know, it's kind of a weird thing. And I've done that before. I've tried to chase an audience with what I thought they wanted, and it was the most unsatisfying feeling as an artist. So find your zen, figure out what's really important to you as an artist, and then try to fit into that place. if you're wanting to be a working artist. Now, some people just like to make stuff and show others. And if they can make a little bit of money off of it, that's great. That's how I used to be. But that was before I could really have a chance of paying my bills making art. I've been doing this for fairy houses now for, I think, 20 years. I've been making these. And the experience shows, and it really does take that level of experience in order to convey value to the extent that a person will pay what you need to get. So that's where I'm at as a working artist. I'm just sort of, I've been trying to be a working artist for like 15 years. And seriously for like the last 7. Really seriously for the last 7. And I've been able to work part-time and do art part-time. That's the best I could do, or the best I could stomach it, really. There's a lot of fret. If you're just walking the line and you're not able to put a lot of money in the bank, then it is scary. It is really scary being a working artist, because you sincerely don't know where your next paycheck's coming from. You don't know for sure how you're going to be able to pay your bills. You may have worked on something really hard and had some hopeful leads on making a sale, and then that falls through and you have no contingency, and you're just left there scrambling. What am I going to do to pay my rent this month? That's the reality of a working artist in today's economy. And there are people that are outliers, certainly do a lot better than me. I'm trying to get into that zone, and I'm trying to do it in a novel way, trying to defy convention. Defy convention is easier to say, and it wasn't that easy. So wish me luck, YouTube. I like to, when I put paper on here, I like them to be manageable squares, first of all. And I don't like them to have any straight edges, like machined edges, because those will stand out like a sore thumb. Okay, now I want to put on a little bit of different color here. And I think I want to go through with the paintbrush, kind of push this out a little bit. Reposition that. It started to sag. Get a nice curve there. Looks natural. All right. And hem that down. Make sure those edges are flat and it doesn't have to be completely covered. The water, it'll eventually migrate. In fact, where the margins are dry, the paper is dry on the margins between wet and dry, when it eventually dries, and I think I might be able to show you what it does. Can you see it? The different patches of paper show up differently, right? And then the margins get darker, so it creates these really neat edgings, this really nice texture. It's hard to tell on my crappy webcam, but you can kind of see what it's doing. And if you can kind of see it on this, then you know when you're looking at it in real life, you must be able to really see it. Did I put that in? Okay, no. Kind of making sure that gets wrapped down nicely, pushed down nicely. And where it looks rough, it's going to be finished. Like this edge here is going to be finished with something, I'm not sure what. These edges here. There was something else I was going to do. I'm trying to remember. Oh, yeah. Inside there's a stick that goes from here to there. And when the lights are off, can you guys see? You can kind of see that stick, sort of. Kind of see it a little bit. The light's bright inside on camera. That's because the camera's trying so hard to pick it up. Visually, when I'm looking at it, my irises work better than this camera's. You can see there's a stick in there. And it gives the impression that there are levels, like first level, second level, you know, like stories, first story, second story. So if I make sure that stick shows up on the outside, it will really impress the fact that this is a multi-level. I mean, we can see that. So I got a stick here. I want to find something that has an interesting diameter. I think that one will do. He's got a little twig there. That's going to make it look interesting. So I can just stop it right there. All right. I'm probably the only person in Ashland that walks down the street, and when I see a stick like that, I get all excited, like a little kid, like I found $1. It's like, ooh, a stick. I'll be calling that stick too. It's like, my stick. Someone's looking at me like, what? Is that going to fit in there now? No. I may have to piece that in. So I'm going to start with the top. If I can get my big Sasquatch. Oh, I don't need to. It's holding itself. That glue string. That one's gnarly. It went all over. And the last part. Let's see. I angrily tossed my tweezers last night because they were in the way. It's like, where'd my 50 tweezers go? I don't think I'm ever going to get that in there that way. I'm going to heat it back up again. Good Lord, the end of that's nasty. Looks like I dropped it on the ground. I do got my big fat head in the way. Can you guys hear the wind chimes? It's a common feature in my videos because there are probably an excessive number of them outside my neighbor's house. And put that guy in there. I think it goes up to about there. I'm gonna really jam that one in there. And do I have a little stumpy one? No, I think moss will go up there. That's just fine. So you guys can see, looks like there's levels now. All right. And then I'll put moss and things around there. On that porch. I don't think I'm going to build this porch up as elaborately on this model because, well, on that model, it needs it. It just needs it. But this one has so many other things going on, like its interesting shape, its levels, has a chimney, setting on a tower. It doesn't really need all of that extra attention. I think it can kind of set in the background. And I need to find my tray of goodies. So the things that I'm adding to it are thusly. This is potpourri. You can buy it in bags. It's different botanicals of different shapes and colors. I bought a bag of natural colored ones, and then, or I guess they aren't colored, natural, and then red ones. And the pieces that I really like, let's see if I can find one, look like this. They're this strange kind of, it's a really hard wood, so it's going to be really durable. And they come in different sizes. I'm afraid I used them all on this piece over here. You can see all of them on there, and they just look beautiful. It really makes it pop against the monochrome of the earth tones. So forgive me while I root around in this for a second. Okay, there's one. These kind of look rough. That's okay. The whole thing looks rough. I may have to buy some more. I kind of like these curly ones. Yeah, I like the curly ones. I think that's going to give it a nice little bit of character coming off there like that. Can you guys see? No? Shoot. Kind of like that. We'll give that a try. Find a good position. Make sure it's going to set against there well. All right. And then how it's going to, I can feel the contact points, and I feel like it's that one edge in the back. So if I kind of match that with my glue, I'm not going to have glue all over the place, and it looks like I have a little bit too much there. It doesn't take a whole lot to hold these, and the more globs of glue that you have squeezing out everywhere, that's the more detailing, more time that it's going to take to finish this model. So I put that on, made contact, rotated it a little bit to spread the glue so that it's not a glob on a glob, and then makes it thinner, it dries faster, and there. It just looks like it magically kind of hangs. And I'm going to put moss around it, it's going to look really cute. So I think I'll go with those on this model. Watch me not be able to find him. That's like the last one. Okay, that one looks good. It's got a little pointy part. Yeah, okay. This one's a little bit more cupped. So I like that. And it's got a stem on the end of it. Can I, here, find a spot where you guys can see. This one's really thick. It looks like it has maybe two parts. It wasn't popped open. So let's pop that bad guy open and see what's inside. There's color inside. Looks like there's two seeds. I'm not even going to throw those away because this seed looks like it'd make a great doorknob on a model. Just glue that to the door. It looks like a doorknob. So I'm going to keep those seeds too. Put those guys in my little container of greatness. Well, that's how I just look at materials and I see that. This one looks like he wasn't cracked open either. Doesn't look like he's going to crack open. Oh, I love the texture and the realness inside there. Keep that one in mind. Now this one's popped open. It's got a good coverage. Just pop it over there. So that's me going through my materials. how I kind of grade things and what I see when I pick up something like this, because I promise it's not what the average person sees when they pick up something. It makes it hard for my brain to figure out what regular people think. So let me clean off my glue gun. Can you see how nasty that is? I just drop it down and it picks up everything. So I need to get that stuff off there. So I'm going to use a piece of crap, like an index card that was in the trash. I'm just going to use it as a napkin, basically. Just take all that off of there. It'll insulate your fingers for the most part from the heat, and it's tough enough where the glue isn't going to tear it. That's really a great way. Just clean that off your glue gun. If you guys want to know how to clean a glue gun, I'm the last. I mean, look at my glue gun. I'm telling you how to clean it. But that's a little bit better than it was. Let's attach this one then. There we go. I'm going to put it going the other way. Sometimes I have a hard time getting these tweezers to grip, so I'll take a little drop of glue, put it right on the end of one of these tips, just one of the tips, and let it dry or cool. And when it does, it'll give you a little bit of friction and space to grab those little threads, and then it pulls them right off. It's like you gave it fingerprints. That looks good. That looks good. Now I need a small one for the very top. Kind of like that. How it scoops down. So I have, yesterday I worked on quite a lot of this piece. I put the roof on, the shingles. I worked on this appliance here, but I didn't show me attaching it to the side here. And the reason why I didn't is because I didn't figure you guys wanted to listen to me for 30 minutes say MF and GD and F this and F that and MFer and GDer, and so that it was like 45 minutes of me cussing and swearing everywhere because that's how I work. Usually it's not it's usually a calm, pretty much zen process, but when you've spent 6 hours on everything and then you've got to put something on you're not quite sure how it's going to work out, it's like playing a video game and you've gone really far in the video game and you don't want to lose any lives. I was losing lives last night and I was cussing up a storm trying to get this to work. It kept sagging, it kept falling out, the beads were going everywhere, and they're impossible to hold. These beads are just like, they're slime. You can't grab them with anything. I've got them all over my apartment. They'll dry out, I'll vacuum them up, that's fine. So a lot of swear words went into this. And that chimney is just crazy looking. Look at that, it's crazy. Can't wait to go through and detail make these stones pop, because right now they're just shapes indicated with the shadow, light and shadow. And I want to go in there and just draw a stone here, draw a stone there, draw or paint or whatever, and make it look stony going all the way up. And I love the color. You guys can see it's just like a light green, yellow color there. This paper is just beautiful, how it's textured and colored. I wish I could convey that with this crappy video camera. So let me see how long I am for 40 minutes. All right, that's plenty enough time for a live feed on this, and it's about lunchtime for me, so I'm going to take a break and I'm going to move this project on over to Facebook, and we'll be there all day finishing this up. Hopefully I'll get it finished today, and if you guys want to, you can stop in from time to time and see how it's going along. So if you like this project and you like my other videos, please think about clicking subscribe, and also give me a thumbs up. If you like this, it lets me know I should take the time to do this more often. So I appreciate your time and appreciate your consideration, and thank you so much for stopping by. I love you guys, and take care.